they are entitled to happiness in America. I have to be happy at all time, and if I'm not happy at all time, I got to take a pill.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You realize again that the world is not fair. Nothing in this world is fair. We are reliving the tobacco industry story again with the social media.
I had this moment where I had to decide: do I want to be 100% of what I can be right now?
To start with the topic that I missed in the last episode because I did some investigation. The topic was quite big. The discovery that you made for a short while. So I had I don't know if you know, but there are articles in the Telegraph as well. There are articles in Germany, a lot of newspaper. But the bigger surprise for me is exactly what you said: is that guy is still professing, is still writing. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You realize again that the world is not fair. Nothing in this world is fair.
No, it's not. It's not fair, and it's kind of. I feel it's also there. I feel over the last 30 years, there's definitely a shift in journalism, moving journalism more towards entertainment, and that means even good papers, serious papers, work on massaging stories to entertain, to sell, to make sure they get advertised. I feel journalism maybe in the 50s, 60s, 70s was like tougher, or it was not as much an entertainment as it is today. But I think people like Tom Kummer, they definitely were able to entertain their audience, and I'm sure they sold a lot of a lot of papers and magazines. These stories.
I'm pretty sure that the fact that they lied didn't affect their financial situation. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
that people still bought because they wanted to believe. It's the story of the wishful thinking, right? They
right,
wanted to believe it, that they know a guy that knew those guys. Like
right.
to put it like this, it's it's unbelievable. I have to say I'm happy that you decided to start Substack. I am happily reading it.
I'm honestly, I'm two recipes in. My daughter put me on a schedule. Says that every Friday you write something, and something you baked, and what memories you have of it, and so that's so I'm on and it seems like people want to know about me baking. I'm glad to share what I know.
I think people are searching reading sources, and I think Substack is an amazing place for this.
Yeah.
And I think this is the place where you can really support um, people enjoying writing, so that
Mhm.
if you like to read, you have a lot of sources, and there are a lot of really good journalists on Substack.
Yes.
Unfortunately, like you said, not on any of the big newspapers, because
Right.
nobody has interest in long form
Yeah, I
articles.
I love the fact that it has like that there's a long form there that people can really explore ideas and kind of go down that road, and not just like, okay, 3 paragraphs and then this is kind of as much space as you get for. So it's really I mean, there we have one publication that does that really well in the US called the Atlantic. I don't know if you're familiar with it. They do some good reporting, I think. I'm always excited about what they do. But yeah, Substack is a great venue for writers, and for people who want to read. You know.
Correct.
And they still
Absolutely.
exist. They do exist. Thank God.
But it's again that lie that media is trying to say, yeah, nobody has the attention span, nobody's listening to anything more than 30 seconds, nobody's reading that if it has more than 5 rows. And then you see in these cases like Substack, i i, I have I think I told you in the previous discussion that I have a New York Times subscription.
Mhm,
And I have read, I think it was some days ago, there was a deeper, maybe some weeks ago, I don't remember. It was a deeper analysis on the situation in Iran. And
mhm,
at the beginning of the article, it's always you have the possibility to press a play button, and there is an AI voice reading the article.
mhm.
And what surprised me when I started to read the article is that the voice was 55 minutes. So it was a long article, because usually the voice that is reading the article was like 6 7, it's like 6 7 minutes in average, so
Right,
that's
right,
the average that you see. But it was 55. I'm so happy. I said, okay, really a good article that you can read. And
right.
it's like a book. The good
Yeah,
article is like a book. You don't have to finish it, but it's if it's extremely interesting, you leave everything down,
yeah,
and like when you find a good book, you
yeah.
go into it and read it. And I love to read your recipes on Friday. I will link the Substack in the episode. I have to say, I was, when I saw the post, I was so happy, because I thought, wow, this is so cool. This is so cool. And I think it would be extremely nice if you could find it, if you could do some of your old articles that you have written, because I think you will find a lot of people still interested in seeing
Right.
those stories.
Yeah. Yep,
Um,
I'm definitely I was put on a schedule. As I said, my daughter is who's running our social media said, Dad, people want to know this stuff, so you have to write again. So okay, I'll I'm I'm doing my wife actually is like there's some people who really are they have to write. That's just they have to. And I'm always was very much envious of that because for me it was always I find writing hard. It's to do it well is it's really hard. So, but
um,
yes, I have a Substack now, which is great, and
Absolutely, absolutely. I will link it. I will link it
it's
in the show
so
notes.
it's so nice to be able to share a little bit also through the social media that kind of blew up on us, food and community and just sharing moments with your family and friends that are not crazy, hectic, and they're not completely infiltrated by the chaos of the world. And I feel, my feeling is that kind of what people also react to. That it's just like this moment there that there's some happiness possible being caused by a cake and in the community. So I'm
But Max, I think that there are two things. First of all, the storytelling in your reels and stories is amazing.
yeah.
This is something that I enjoy. Every time a new reels is coming, I enjoy to
That's my
watch it.
daughter. She's like a yeah.
So first of all, the storytelling, and second, I have to say, it's just you are um, you are showing a different kind of life that people are not used to anymore, because in most of the cases everybody's showing the grind, the rush. How can I get another job to make more money there, to run about there, to get a to-go coffee, not to enjoy, like, even the fact that you sit at the dinner tables, or after dinner, because that's the feeling in the reels,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you enjoy that cake with a group of people. This is something that the
Yeah.
world is not used to anymore. And
Yeah.
we are missing social interactions. I think it's a side effect after COVID, which did not really came back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I,
I
and I find, I mean, so now I'm 66 and I have a 6 months old baby. I mean,
Which is amazing.
I'm really want to make a point. I mean, I did this with my other kids too, to sit down, to eat, to spend and slow down and talk to each other. It's just,
I,
and
I, 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 I keep repeating the same thing. I think I've seen it in either on Reddit or somewhere. There's a picture from a restaurant. There was a board at the entrance of the restaurant saying, "We don't have Wi-Fi. Talk to each other. Pretend it's
right. Yes.
95."
Yes. Poor. And then you have restaurants. I mean, I've seen restaurants where literally everybody. that the whole family is on an iPad or an iPhone, and nobody talks to each other, and then the food comes, and they're still on the iPhone while they eat, and it's just sad. It's like,
Yeah.
and the thing is, you know what? I mean, some things you can't, or maybe you can stop them. I feel there's, especially amongst younger parents, I feel a whole movement, like an anti-screen movement, and people being more conscious. I feel the last 10 or 15 years, the children were kind of part of this big experiment of like being connected to all this, and I feel we see a lot of the terrible things that have come out of it, you know. So here in America, I feel in some communities there is definitely a consciousness is that we don't want to do that. Let's maybe try it a different way, you know.
I think that we are reliving the tobacco industry story again with the social media, because it was the same thing. Like whenever the cigarettes came out first, all the doctors said, yeah, do cigarettes. They are extremely healthy. They are good for you. They are so on. Everyone was smoking in every commercials. There was I still remember
Yeah,
the Camel commercials where the doctors were smoking the cigarettes
yeah,
inside the offices. And now we are living the same. At the beginning, nobody knew how to handle it. I think our generation, my generation, doesn't know how to handle it, because when we are screwing, we're dumb screwing because we cannot control ourselves. And I think for kids, it's important for them to get a feeling of it, but also to understand the downside of it. And the the thing which is, you mentioned restaurants, Max, and I think it's really worth to mention that I've seen a lot. We are living in the world when people are working, parents are working a lot, and usually kids are in the
yeah,
kindergarten or school until, I don't know, 5 or 6 in the afternoon. Then you take them to a restaurant to eat dinner, and instead of trying to understand how their day were, because they are not really sharing, the kids, like when they're 6 7, they're not really sharing. Try to talk to them, try to make them to share something with you. You decide to stay still on your phone to get updated on your likes and shares, and I don't know, whatever they are. It's
yeah,
so sad.
yeah. I mean, it is also, I also see that I do live in a very, very privileged little universe that we created here. We are not, and I can work from home. I work on these different projects now. We have this glass rose, developing these new drinks, but it's not. I'm not going to an office and live in this urban world. I mean, this is not without hiccups either. I mean, there's a lot of things but it's definitely a much slower way of looking at life and spending a day. Where you kind of say, okay, I'm going to take the time to bake a cake. I'm gonna make some food for tonight, and not. Apart from that, I think where we live in this valley here in Santa Ynez, restaurants are so expensive that food is very expensive in America anyway. In comparison to Germany, but this is extra expensive here if you want to eat good food, and so we just try to grow as much ourselves and cook at home. And
Yeah,
we also buy things, but we can't live off all the stuff that, I mean, we don't make everything ourselves, but a good amount of vegetables and stuff like that. That's all we grow it ourselves, and spend some time then, yeah, cooking,
I,
preparing. But it's also you have to want that. It's kind of like, to me, it's a total joy. And I know for a lot of people it's a chore. And I understand that if you're tired after 10 hours of work and being in the traffic, I think it's not that, you know, for a lot of people it's just not that easy to do all of that.
I
So
think
I'm
it's a matter of choices, Max, because I work long hours as well, I have to say, but I enjoy cooking, and I think
Yeah.
the happiness of my son eating a meal that I cook is something that you cannot match by any of the rest of rest or any restaurant order that you do anywhere.
Right.
And this is, I think, something that you have to enjoy. No, you don't have to enjoy, but you have to know how to enjoy it. And I think it's relaxation, it's
Yeah.
meditation, it's like making coffee. I know you have a coffee. You replace the
Yeah. Yes.
you replace the one with the other,
Yeah.
one devil with the other. But also making coffee as a process. It's a meditation process to
Yeah.
brew it, to I don't know, to do it. It doesn't matter what's the method that you're doing it with.
Right.
If you do it in a pot, if you do it in an espresso machine, it doesn't matter. Just a meditation. And
Right.
I think it's important to learn to enjoy every step of the way, because looking forward to the next, I don't know, next promotion, next milestone in your life goes by and you don't know when and how.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. For me, everything is about the process itself. That's the joy is the process. And I mean, I'm obviously happy when the outcome is nice, but in the end, the outcome is not as important to me as the process of getting there and what you learn along the way. And I think looked at life like that. I mean, done so many different things in my life. It was always like it was more of an exploration of things that I was interested in than okay, this is my career. I have to follow all these. Somehow that never fit. That shoe never fit me, and I found a way to kind of okay look at okay I want to learn how this works and I found a way how to make a living that way. Most likely you don't get rich or wealthy that way, but nobody takes anything with them in the end, and it's so I think that, that life that we have, I mean, to me, the most exciting thing is learning something today, tomorrow morning. Yeah, I mean, all the things that I kind of like that are out there that's the greatest joy to me. Learn
I,
something.
I, I think it's we all have a different definition of rich, Max, and I think that
Yeah,
money is not our all definition of rich. And I think if you look around, that never made someone extremely happy. I don't know, maybe except one of the
rarely.
extremely
Yeah, I
rich.
don't. No,
I don't know any of the cases also around me, or also people that I know, also public figures, that they'll say, okay, they are extremely happy because they have money. You see, like in all of the public figures and rich, they not they cannot get enough. And if they have, I don't know, a billion, they want a trillion, and they are always going trying to go to the next level. And I think this is clear that that's not the secret to
no. If you're not happy without money, you won't be happy with money either.
exactly.
So it's really and I've been at all different. I mean, I don't think I was ever yeah, at a where I felt rich or had wealthy, uh, but sometimes it works better than others. But I feel every stage I really enjoyed because I learned something new. I was thrown into a different world, or I choose a different world, to kind of to explore and. To this day, it's like you know, can't wait to open to open the book at night. I'm just reading or rereading. I don't know if you ever read that book called The Lady in Gold. The movie is called The Woman in Gold. It is about the restitution of the stolen Klimt paintings to Maria Altmann, who the Bloch-Bauer family was basically chased out of Austria. These were very wealthy Jewish people who were sponsored a lot of art and sciences, and the Klimt paintings were basically then stolen by the Nazis. And in the 90s, I think it was in the end of the night 2000. The case went on for a long time, but Maria Altmann, who in the end lived, who was a niece of Adele Bloch-Bauer, lived in Los Angeles. She got those paintings back from the Austrian government, and grandson of Arnold Schoenberg, Randy Schoenberg, was the attorney who made this all happen. But it's also interesting to just reread what actually happened in Austria during the Anschluss, and I mean, and I wish a lot of people would read these books again, because we could learn a lot for our current situation and what's happening now. So it's yeah, very much recommended. Also, by the way, a great movie called The Woman in Gold, and Helen Mirren is playing Maria Altman in it. It's really a beautiful movie. Can only recommend it. But
I
yeah,
take the I take the book recommendation. Sounds extremely interesting. I read something in the same direction. I don't know if you know it. It's called the Happiest Man on Earth.
mm,
Um, it's an interesting, sad. It starts really sad, the book, but it has a, let's say, a good ending of the story. It's a story of a family during exactly those times, how they got deported, how they got reported, and the guy that managed to escape. That's why he's called the happiest man on earth, because when
yeah,
he managed to get out of the concentration camps, he
prison
said,
camp, yeah,
"There is nothing that can take my happiness away.
right,
Nothing."
right,
And if you see, so it's the story is repeating only because we don't know it anymore, Max. That's
right.
the biggest problem.
Yeah, I
That's
mean that's my fear. My fear is that it's somehow it's too far in the past for a lot of people, that they have no recollection, and it's not present anymore, and it's yeah,
all the people that live those times are gone, and all the people that can report about those times are gone. Slowly, the generation that read the books that
yeah,
were written by those people are gone as well, and this is what's happening. And
yeah,
you see that in the new generation. Yeah, the guys, there are some guys. I'm not saying that all the generation is dead and nobody's reading anymore. No, but it's not enough people, and I think we have a demographic problem everywhere, and I think this is starting to be more and more obvious. And the new generation that is coming back doesn't really know because they are, I keep trying to explain this always, that we have a lower a lower numbered new generation, and then the percent from there that are still knowing the history, even though it's the same as it was in our generation, the amount of people is really low, because the new generation, it's really slim pickings. Like it's clear for there are a lot of countries. I have seen a interesting analysis did by Peter Zian. I don't know if you know Peter Zian. He's doing amazing geopolitical analysis, and he said that, for example, China has a huge problem of with the new generation, because they stopped having kids about 40 years ago, and because of that, the people who should have kids now, they're not there anymore, because they are
right, right,
the
right,
average the average age is about 40, and it's the same issue in Germany, apparently.
very much,
A
yeah,
huge the same issue in Italy as well. So most of the countries have the same problem everywhere. Like you don't have this new generation. The new generation being smaller in numbers, you, even if you have the percentage of people that the same, you still have lower people that know the history, and we kind of relive it a bit. I hope not to the end, or not to the same scenario. I think there's gonna be a crack which will switch back to a normal path, but it's hard
yeah,
at the moment.
yeah,
We went on a really dark side from the beginning. um, I have to come back to the previous discussions, and I have to say the moment in which you switch was the moment in which you said you didn't want to write about others' life anymore, and you wanted to start to live your life and to make a story out of it. Can you elaborate a bit on that, because it sounded so interesting I've visited the episode, and I said I want to go deep there. What have you mean? But was you wrote a lot about the others, but you didn't want to write about the others' life anymore.
yeah. So I feel I I felt like a witness and a bystander, who then obviously brought a story to an audience. I got to interview so many great people. I mean, I remember I got to interview Steven Spielberg when the, you know about his Shoah Foundation, also about movies. But so I got to meet so many great people who were all doing great things, and I showed the world, or my audience in Germany, what these people did, and it's just felt, I mean, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be. I mean, not that I felt I can do something that great, but I wanted to be creating something myself, So uh, as a musician, I wanted to make music. I didn't want to write about music anymore. Then obviously you have to make a living. For 10 years of my life with my previous wife, I had a fashion company. I learned how to, manufacture. I became an entrepreneur. I never was in my life an entrepreneur before. And not that I liked this world of garment business that much, but I learned how to be a business person. I was the protagonist. I was doing something, and I feel uh, s- when that ended, and I had this lifelong love of wine. I said, you decide, okay, you're gonna learn how to make wine. You're gonna, you learn everything you can from. So you make your own wine, you sell your wine. So I just wanted to do things. I didn't want to write about things anymore. I feel it did not fulfill me anymore to report on others' things, even though what I did wasn't maybe not it wasn't I didn't make a great movie, or I didn't make any, a world-class wine that every wine writer wrote about, but I made something. I created something and I put it out into the world instead of writing about other people doing that.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I have to say that switch has brought me a lot of happiness. It also has brought a lot of struggles because I'm that's not my education. I'm not a businessman or entrepreneur by education. But I feel right now I'm doing the same thing again with Glass Rose. So there's an idea, and so how can we bring this idea to life? How can we find an audience for it? How can we bring it out? It's just so satisfying. I mean, right now I feel we created this non-alcoholic drink, and I mean, I within 10 weeks I sold the whole first production. I'm sold out. I already have to bottle again in a month. And it's like, oh, people are reacting to something that my wife Sarah and I created together. So we cook this up in our brain. How about if we pick grapes early and then we do this? And how if we put this all? How do we package it? Who will be our Will there be an audience? And there is an audience for it. And to me, it's really satisfying to make something, you know, put it out
I
there.
think I think we live in a really cool time from this point. If you talk about the discussion about social media from before, I think we live in a cool time because you can find your audience through the internet quite easy.
Right.
And I think there are people interested about anything. You just have to find I think you still have find your 100,000 people or 200,000 people, or I don't know, 500,000 people that are interested in the same thing that you are, because that's the power of the internet we have at the moment.
Right.
And um, I think it's amazing, and I can believe that this feeling of creating something and seeing people reacting, it's a different way of getting likes and shares on social media. I'm just I'm just trying to make a small parallel in between, but I think
Right.
it's the same thing. Like you realize, oh, I made something, and that something was not a picture, that something was really a product, and people are enjoying the product and they
Right.
are coming back, which is amazing.
And
Uh,
it's also a little bit, Paul, it's like a high wire act because, so many things can go wrong. It's like
Absolutely,
and you're like,
absolutely.
okay, so now we put so much money into it. What if the pasteurization hasn't worked right? And and then there's all these hiccups, and then you have in your head some things that you think, oh, that's going to kill the project, and the whole world, nobody cares about that little hiccup. Nobody said that didn't matter. So to me, to bring something to life and just see how it develops, put it out into the world, it's really satisfying. It's very satisfying.
Um, you are coming from a culture which, at least in the side when I'm living in Germany, is promoting hard work. You
Mm.
moved to a country in which grinding is the definition of life. Like they are pushing, you live the American dream, you can do that and that, but you managed to develop though some businesses with this slow way of living that you have, at least the glass rolls. I don't know about the previous business, but I see about this glass rolls. um where do you get this energy of doing things, but doing things in your own way? Where did you get the, because w- whenever I look in Germany, the hard work is supported. The the performance of kids is encouraged since school and so on. And I want to ask you, how did you manage to get out of this grind and to realize that this slow way of doing things is the way in which you can enjoy them?
I mean, to me, the process has to. I wanted to feel joy. I can't work in a way where everything feels like it's a chore, and I can't. So I love to work, and I basically work all the time, really slow. I would say, not in this kind of like, if you say it's, yeah, it's in its time. I will put time away for this. I will put time away for this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you probably saw that I also do breed a little bit horses,
Mm-hmm.
and ride. So there's some days where there's no time for it, but I try to make time for all these things that I find important. And to me, otherwise I can't feel joy. And if can't feel joy, if I'm miserable, then I'm unproductive. I'm not. I'm, I don't know. I always try to find that. I try to find some happiness with the work that, in many ways, I invented my own work, if you want, it's just like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to make wine, a tasting room, sell the wine. How do we produce it? Bottle, we got to make labels and all this kind of, okay, then see how do people react. Is this going to work? And but I think it also has to do that this business right now is in the country. I mean, we are on a vineyard. We look at grapes. There's goats running around, and cows and sheep, and dogs. And it is obviously a slower. It is not. The interesting thing is, it is. It's never 9 to 5. It's all the time. If you live around animals in the agricultural environment, and every farmer in Germany will tell you that you work. You basically are always involved. It never lets up. And but the advantage is that you don't have this, okay, from 9 to 5, I'm under the gun and I'm in an office where people are putting the squeeze on me, and where I have to fight. And, so I think a lot of it has to do with the environment that you search out to work in and to live in, you know. So the moment you live in a city or in a suburb, everything that changes already, because the way you make a living is probably you go somewhere where you into an office or into a factory, and then it gets more compartmentalized. So the work is separate from your free time, and everything it's in these blocks, and for me, one thing flows into the other. I mean, I'm probably going to be in the winery and check on something, and then I'm going to check on the horses, and then we have a meeting about the labels and about the social media, and then I play with my daughter. so but that could be in the middle of the day where other people are, you know and I know I'm super privileged, to be able to do that. But on the other hand, I think, I'm at my age, most people in Germany are already, you know, retired or, I mean, maybe not anymore. I think a lot of people work longer now too. But up to me, I also don't look at life like that. I don't see any retirement for me. It's like I'm doing the things I love to do until I can't anymore. But if you love those things that you surround yourself with, then it's also not a problem.
You said that now twice that you have a privileged life, but I don't think it's the case, Max. I think it's just a matter of choice again. I think
Yes.
you
Yeah.
decided to do that for yourself. It's not like someone offered you, like it said, okay, take this, Max. You don't have to do anything for it.
No,
It was by choice.
yeah, no, I created that life, but
Exactly.
that's very true. But at the same time, it's really interesting. I talked to Sarah about it earlier that, so many times in life, there's a window that that's open. That's not open the day before or the day after. And I feel I always had a way of looking through that window and then seeing a door into another. And so, and I think to be able to, that's something that was given to me, but I don't know by who, but I feel I have a gift of seeing those open doors and open windows and where things could lead. And I have no fear. I don't have any fear of loss or of like, oh my God, what if I lose everything? And then what do I do? Like, then I'm gonna start over again. I know enough things uh, that I can always be, I think, useful in a lot of different environments and worlds. And but I feel, I mean, privilege. I don't mean that by, somebody gave me a lot of money or so. It's just having the gift to find those situations. Find.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, now I understand because I always try to differentiate a bit between the things because people think that you get everything from for granted, and that's never the case. Like
No, no. I
we
mean, that was definitely not in my case. Not, but it's kind of, eh, to recognize, to have open eyes and an open heart, and to recognize where there's something that could lead to something so interesting and amazing. I mean, you know, I mean, 5 years ago, I was single, and I got a message on Facebook, PM message, from a woman that I vaguely even knew on Facebook. I mean, she lived in Berlin, and today I'm married to her. And I just said, I gotta find out. I gotta find out who this is. That's so interesting that she sends me a message. Uh, and so I don't have a lot of fear I'm just curious. So what is this? And 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 so many amazing things happened since then. It's kind of just, I mean, a whole musical life. I mean, I've always played music. We talked about music so much. Opened because we started recording together. We have a couple of albums out. At one point, the Amarillo Symphony commissioned us to write some music with a friend of ours, that where we have played basically with a bluegrass band and an 80-piece orchestra. It was unbelievable. So I got, I mean, I'm a pretty decent banjo player, but I'm not the great. So, but you know what? We created something, and I got to be on stage with the greatest players, and I got to do this. I really pursued it. I mean, I have to say we worked really, really hard on this project. But so all of that would never have happened if I wouldn't have answered this private message that made me curious. And it's like, wow, so, how great, life is
I,
just like, wow, it's all out there.
I have found your YouTube channel, and I listened to the music because there is a YouTube channel with a lot of recordings of songs, and I have to say I enjoyed every one. I recommend it. I You made me discover a new style of music that I wasn't
Uh,
aware of until now. And thank you for that.
yeah.
I'm a music lover generally, but I think this
Did you find the things that we recorded under Sarah Shiloh Ray and Bluebird Junction? Yeah. Okay. Great. 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 So
yes, yes,
that's
yes.
and that happened that that came out of COVID, if you believe it or not. So my now wife, back then we didn't really know each other. It was 2020. So she was stranded in Provence. She couldn't go back to her apartment in Berlin. Everything was closed down. The world was closed down. I was in Santa Ynez, and we had just had one date, a coffee date, and we were on the phone or on FaceTime every day. I said, "How about we record a song together?" She's an opera singer. How do you? I'm a folk or like a guitar banjo player. And so we decided to record a song together. I sent her a microphone to Provence and taught her how to do this. And then we matched those files up. And out of that became a whole, every month we recorded a new song together. Eventually, I called my friends in Nashville and in Brooklyn and said, "Hey, how about we record a bluegrass tune together?" And it was just amazing. I got to meet these are the people who we then invited to Santa Ynez when we did our record, and I got to meet all these young guys and play with them that are just such astounding musicians, like John Mylander and Mike Robinson, and like just amazing, amazing, amazing musicians. And it's to me, it's one of the great gifts that to work with young people.
It's
Just like
it's impressive. Just because you answered one private message on Facebook, it's
yes,
impressive. It's really impressive. Like if I make now the connection together, I think that's crazy, right? So
yes.
it's it, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like
So, but
we
but
have
but what I wanted to say, I mean, what I want to say is like these signs are out there all the time. There's something where for everyone, we walk through life, and there's these things we have to just see them and recognize them, and then maybe or hopefully act on them and say, hey, oh, I gotta find out. I have to find out what that is. Who
I
is
think
that? Why?
the the fear of failure is the biggest problem. You mentioned a few times now that you're not afraid. And I think that made you go and try to walk every path because you're not afraid of
Right.
failing. You didn't that there was no, and I dare to say this even though we don't know each other, Max, but I think there was no big ego involved there. It's like when I fail and I hit a wall, I just get up and
Yeah.
walk in the other
I
direction.
I have to say, talking about America and Germany, it's like, there are so many things wrong here. The one quality that I have found when I came here is that failure is not judged. That's never the end. You can start again, and you know, people don't judge you if things go wrong. Okay, you just that just didn't work, but something else. So I feel in Germany that is much there's a much more judgment on that. You can't really fail. So yeah, so that I do like that quality about this culture, even though as I said right now, I don't know. We're immigrants here in this country. I'm an immigrant in this country. Let's see how long I'm gonna be. They're gonna want me here. It's things are crazy right now. It's definitely not the country that I came to. When I came in the late '80s, it was very different. Very different.
It's do you feel it or you just see it in the news?
No, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, you read it, I don't feel it from my neighbors and from my, from in
This
the
is what I
world
mean.
I live in, not no, but I mean, we work with a lot of Hispanic families here. They're all my friends, they are we
They're afraid.
love them, and they're all citizens, but you know, uh, things are just a little out of control right now, I have to say. So, and scary, and that's why I brought this book up, um, but what happened in 1938 in Austria, And so, you also kind of, yeah, I don't know if we should have a political discussion here, but I feel like last time in our I probably came across as someone who's completely enthusiastic about America, and I am absolutely enthusiastic about. I believe in the idea, and I believe in the great promise of this country, but I'm also right now uh, don't recognize it anymore, So I really believe in this, yeah, believe in democracy. I believe in all these cultures working together. I believe in, this might be very naive, but I want to believe that, And I've seen a lot of it work so great. So,
That makes two of us, Max.
yeah.
I think I told you in the previous episode that I'm a huge US fanboy, and I think I still say this. I said in one of the previous episodes, and I got so much negative feedback. I said in one of the previous episodes that America is still the only country in the world. In the meantime, I made some research, but I knew back then like this that it's the only country in the world that was neither they didn't had a king or it was not a communist or under a dictator until now. It's
Mm.
the only one in the world. This is what I knew. Now, in the meantime, I know there are, I think, three in the whole world. Were never in this case, but America is the biggest one and the biggest culture. And I hope it stays like this.
I hope so too. I mean, we'll see how it's gonna play out, but it's just right now I'm feel Yeah, I think right now I have to say I really do feel between sad and upset, and
Mhm.
because I really believe in this. I really believe, and I don't want it to be taken away. You know,
I
yeah,
have to say this is yeah makes two of us.
yeah,
I'm far away, but I still dream of living there one day. And under the circumstances, I think it's hard at the moment.
yeah, yeah.
But um, you mentioned this the fail and the fact that nobody's judging the fail, and I have to say this is something which is I see it in the German culture. They Everyone is trying to bring it up to promote the fail culture, to
Hmm.
promote the people actively making fails, but I think the society is not ready for this
Mm.
because everyone is talking about fail culture, but as soon as you have something which can be close to a mistake, you,
Okay, who's to
you are
blame?
judged. Exactly.
Yeah,
Like
sure, it's
the
you.
most the most important thing is that who's guilty.
Yeah,
I crashed. I work in a corporation. I crashed so many meetings by because everyone was opening the meeting with who's guilty for this, and I keep saying
yeah,
I don't care, and I crashed so many meetings and so many discussions. But
yeah,
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 this is something which is quite hard.
I
Um,
think that's also takes. I mean, the thing is, you can't really adopt this if it's not in the culture, anchored in the culture over generations. It's kind of, you can't say, you can't prescribe that, and say, oh, that's how we do it. Now we do it this way. That doesn't work like that. It's
and it will not happen overnight. It will take if the society is designed to accept it, it will take a lot of years
right.
until
Yeah,
they will be there. Um, Max, we talked about the difference in cultures, and I have to ask you one thing because we shortly discussed after the end of the last episode about this. But what was the experience of raising kids in the United States?
Um, I I would say I really loved. I could not have raised children in Germany, because I feel that this whole you can really do what you. I mean, I raised my kids. You can do what you really want. There's no. I'm not gonna put you out here. These are my expectations, and my oldest daughter became queer pop star. I don't know if you looked her up. Her name is Zolita, Zolita. Tours all over the U.S. And is also a filmmaker who makes music videos that have like old-fashioned narrative, very elaborate, very successful. My now she's not my youngest anymore, but my youngest one is uh, the youngest one that's working as like a ballet dancer that turned her experiences into a YouTube channel that became super popular, Luna Montana. You can, so all these things, if you talk, and I've talked to German friends who brought kids up at the same time, like, what are your kids doing? That makes no sense. I have a son who was a basketball player, and played professionally in the G League at least. So all these things that you kind of realize your dream without, oh, the society expects you to go through these motions of this and this and this. This is your job, and I feel there was much more. There's always enormous amount of freedom. We also my kids grew up. All of our friends were artists, musicians, and so we had a school where everybody went to the grammar school. What do you call it in the first 4 years, and obviously the funding wasn't there for music. So my friend Davy Johnstone, who's was Elton John's music director and guitar player, was also my neighbor, and I said, okay, how about we're going to put a show on once a year or twice a year, real professional fundraiser. We auction off instruments, and we tell the school the only money they can spend the money only on teachers, not on things. They cannot buy new computers or anything, and it has to be for the art and music program. So that's what we did. So all these parents and musicians came together and organized these big shows, and we made enough money so we could afford a full-time music teacher for our kids, because the public school didn't have it, and so I feel that our kids also kind of, when your children see that, okay, there's a lack here. Okay, let's all get together. Let's do it. We can actually achieve something if we create something. Um, I feel in my feeling in Germany is more like you expect the state to work, and it has that it's not your responsibility to pay for a music teacher. It's the state's responsibility, or and here your kids see that, oh, there's something missing. We can So how about we raise the funds for it? Obviously, it would be great if the state would pay for a music teacher, and if they don't, so what can we do? What We do it ourselves. So, and I think kids seeing that, it just changes. They become more proactive and more kind of involved. I mean, at least in my case, that was like that. No handouts. Just nobody's going to do it for you. You have to do it. You got to go out and do it. So I do, I still think obviously every child is also different. I mean, one of my kids went to NYU, Tisch School of the Arts, on a full scholarship. The other one decided not to go to college at all. She was a dancer, and I think overall, it's kind of it worked out. I mean, sometimes I wish, in Germany, at least in my time, there was a consensus of what people should know and you should be able to talk about. Um, but that's obviously has changed everywhere. That's in Germany too, you know. I mean, this whole die große Allgemeinbildung, what you know, this general, the Studium Generale, where you know all these philosophy and this, yeah, you know, it's not that common anymore in Germany either. You know, it's maybe a little more than in America, where people are very much specialists, I guess. But I feel what I liked about raising kids here is that they become, if there's a lack somewhere, said, okay, let's get together, let's find a way to fix it. We do it together, you know. Um, we don't rely on the government to do it. So
Yeah. The, do you have the feeling that they did they were supported by the school to be happy? They were encouraged to find a way to be happy, to enjoy what they are doing?
to be honest, too, yes, I but I find we have a lot of discussions about this word happiness, my wife and I find this a very interesting topic because America writes in their constitution the pursuit of happiness, you know, and I find there is this, and that I find is a fault. People think they are entitled to happiness in America. And that creates severe depression because that doesn't work. You know, I find a lot of mental problems do exist because of these expectations. I have to be happy at all time, and if I'm not happy at all time, I got to take a pill. You know, and I so I find that I think they're very much encouraged to be happy, but I feel that there's also this huge expectation of okay, I have to be happy. Something is wrong with me if I'm not happy all the time. And I find happiness, and that's at least what I try to teach as a parent, is like happiness is what you got to look for it. And it could be this little moment, again, like that window. You got to watch. You got to be be present, live in a very present way to see where this happiness, where you can grab it for a minute and then it's gone, and then it's going to come again when you see it. It is a process. It's always it's there, but it's also elusive, and you know it. But this guarantee, okay, we have to be happy. This happy culture, uh, I find that problematic. You know, I find it has to. Happiness is an active, like love. It's something. You know, sounds so cheesy, but love is a verb, and happiness also. You know, it's a verb. You know, it's something. It's, it's not a state.
It's an action.
Yeah.
Um, the most probably, but yeah, I still like your answer a lot, and I think it's important to understand that the maybe if you learn to enjoy the ride, not the goal, we are we are enjoying much more of we are happier more time to put it in the same way, because the goal it's only like the end, and that's usually like a 10 seconds thing where you say,
Right.
okay, now I'm there, now I have everything, now okay, what's the next goal? Because you don't get to spend the time with the goal. And I think if you learn to enjoy the ride, my goal of the question was that were they were they pushed towards things that they enjoyed, or do they had to do the checklist? Because I'm telling you when I'm coming from. So my son is going to be 8 this year, so he's 7. He started the first grade this year, and we get every like every twice a semester or something like this, we had a checklist. So he did mark these checks, he didn't mark these checks, and they are standard things which you cannot really push left and right. Have you had something like this for your kids, or it was just an, let's say, an open mind?
I don't think it's that extreme here. You have to obviously, if you go to high school, you have to still do your. But I think you, more than anything, you choose the level of where you want to be at. In America, you can do just your normal English classes, which are kind of boring, or if you're really into reading and books, you do what AP classes. They're called advanced placement classes. And if you're really into it, then you're amongst people that are really into writing or in math, you know. So you can
Mhm.
choose it's almost like within the school system, you can choose your level of engagement, you know. But I feel that my kids all had these real interests that were not school interests. I mean, one was a ballet dancer, and at one point in high school, she didn't go. So she went basically only for 3 hours to school in the morning, and then went dancing and did homeschooling for the rest of the time. My oldest one was always into photography, film, and music, and so she kind of pushed the envelope on that end. And also went to school, obviously, and got good grades there. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gotten a scholarship at NYU. But and my son was basketball. That's what he was his dream. He wanted to play basketball, and that's what he did. And so I feel, it's very hard for me to say if my kids are typical American kids because my ex-wife is Danish. So there's these two Europeans with their quirky ideas. Uh, so, so but I feel I mean, overall, I think I would not have enjoyed raising my kids in Germany because I
Mhm.
find the demands are very standardized and everything is
Mhm.
so you have to fit more into a box of okay, this is in America there's so many different ways of going to school. I mean my ballet daughter, she went to New York to a ballet school that was a high school too for 1 year. She got a scholarship there and basically it was integrated high school and dancing. So a real professional dance school, ballet school. And so I find that American education can be really, really terrible. I mean, like really terrible. But you can also, if the parents are looking out for something and see a talent in a kid, then there's all these different ways of going to school. I mean, there's also obviously a lot of people who don't send their kids to school. They do only homeschooling. Most of the people who do homeschooling in America are basically religious crazy people. But there are also people who say, you know what, I don't find that curriculum. I want much more art, and I have thought about it too. So if in in Germany, I think there's also an advantage to it that everything's standardized, so everybody has a general knowledge. We can expect if you have your Abitur, everybody kind of knows. There's an advantage to that, but it also is not always ideal for the children because children are not cookie cutter. Everyone's different, so everyone learns different, and some learn visual, some more, and, so I find there is more flexibility if the parents really care about education. There's a lot of different things you can do. I mean, there's a preschool here in where we are. It's called the Forest School, where the kids literally there's no building. They're just out under the trees, and they have to wade through creeks to get to the area where they're gonna where the school is. I mean, that's a preschool, so they don't. It's not like reading and writing, but you learn about plants, and it's all outdoors. And or you can
Amazing.
go to a normal kind of Montessori school, or there's some Waldorf schools, and there's thousands of different things that you know some better than others, but I find there's much more flexibility, to give a child what it needs. But again, it also depends where you are. I mean, in states like Alabama, there's no funding for school. There is no money. it's across the board. School is pretty bad there, But in California, there's a lot of, I mean, if you're not in the LA school district, which is kind of can be questionable, further out, there are some really good public schools, that really
Mhm.
that make a great effort. You know, I mean, and we all hope, obviously, that there will be a ban on telephones very soon, and that that's coming here. I mean, that there will be no more phones in school. So, I mean, it's happening. I don't understand how these poor teachers, how they even can teach with kids who have phones in the classroom. I mean, like, it's just possible.
I think it's hard. It was hard to have control also when I was in school and we had no phones because you're a kid, like your attention span is not
Right,
that long, and
right.
I think it's hard to focus. And I think but now with the phones, like you have the permanent something in your hand that can get your attention. It's crazy. It's really
Terrible.
crazy
It's really, and it's super addictive. I mean, they're made uh, they're, to be
to
addicted.
be addictive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love there was a lot of discussion about Australia
Yeah.
blocking social media for kids under, I think, under 16, if I
I,
remember correctly.
I think it's coming everywhere. I think people have learned, and I think it's more that there's really a movement. Uh, and I just, feel bad for what happened the last 10 years. I mean,
But it's again a money printing machine, Max. Because if you talk about social media, it was made to make money. No,
right.
there was never the idea to be educational, never the idea
No.
to use it for something good. I read Careless People. It was a book written by a former communication manager from Facebook,
Yes.
which I don't know if you know the book. She went into the company and she said she wanted to because she had a political she was the political liaison of Facebook, correct? And she went there hoping to do a change in the world, hoping to do to do some things to help some countries with the power of a social media, because you have a huge power.
Mhm.
And then she realized that nobody cares about that, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah. No, absolutely.
it's it was always about money.
Yeah. Yeah.
um if we talk about if we talk about uh, kids, the like you said, the power of choice is amazing, and I think that was the most important thing. But I see in Germany a lot the need to categorize people into people that have studied and people that have not studied. Do you see this happening?
To a certain extent, that's true too. So if somebody didn't go to college, at least the system is just a little bit different. So in America, people go to high school. Then high school
Mhm,
is over, and then what they do when they go to college, the first 2 years is basically, again, it's just almost like a higher education, where they still have to do math, whatever. It's not like you become a doctor, study medicine when you come out of high school.
mhm,
You have to do another 2 years, and then it's almost like a Zwischenprüfung kind of thing, and then you can
mhm,
specialize. So I feel everybody here expects some that you go at least to these 2 years 2 years of college, whatever college it is. You will be judged if you just have high school. I think that's here too.
okay, okay.
But and
That's
then you have
interesting.
I mean, there are community colleges that are not really that expensive. But I mean, any form of higher education is that it's like high quality higher education, status higher education is very, very expensive, and it's just to get in there somehow is just and then it's I I question though if college and university as we know it today is really as important as it was 30 or 40 years ago. I mean, obviously, when you become a doctor and like a surgeon and stuff like that, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you know, I don't think it's um, the path to success. You know, we have a lot of people. We have a lot of people who come out of colleges who just make coffee at Starbucks, and I'm not nothing against that, but that wasn't the expectations, and they're saddled with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. You know, it's the only debt in America that you can't walk away from. You know, you can file for bankruptcy for anything, but the education that you took a loan on that you can't walk away from. It's really
It's
interesting.
it's for me that talking about the good and the bad things of the American culture is for me hard to understand how you allow a kid to borrow $300,000
Insane.
with
Insane.
it's insane.
Yeah.
Like you set him up for a hard 20 years from the beginning.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what his
If
but
but that means if they even, find ways to pay that back, they might be settled with that until the end of their lives. And it's, I mean, I always feel that, good, I mean, if you could have, if you can educate your public, that's a great asset. Free education is something, you know, but that's not the American way. That's for sure. I mean, and I have nieces and nephews that go to Harvard. They got accepted there, and they love going there, and they're really excited about. But there's a lot of different levels of colleges, and someone who doesn't go at all, it's definitely it's also considered to be a rite, somehow it's a rite of passage, kind of growing up. That's how Americans leave school, leave home and grow up, learn how to
Mhm.
be, that's how they get socialized. And so not going to college is kind of, yeah, it's probably similar. I would say similar.
It's part of the culture like it was at least in Romania was going to the army as
Right.
a young kid. Like there was the mandatory army service that
Right.
you had to do. And that's how the college is seen now, right?
Exactly.
I I think the important part of it is to the living alone part because that's somehow helping you to understand that the clothes are not washed by themselves, the
Exactly.
dishes are not washed by themselves, and the food is not cooked by itself. So
Right.
I think it's something which is helping a lot to understand how life is
But
working.
100% true. But at the same time, in comparison to a German university, you still help. They're holding your hand. The professors, everybody makes sure people are accountable. And like, I mean, if I didn't show up for my Vorlesung, nobody cared. I mean, you were on your own. I went to I went to Tübingen, Freiburg, and then in the end, I finished in Hamburg. And, if you didn't show up, you just, didn't pass. In America, because they pay a lot of money, the college professors make sure that you know don't fall through the
You are
cracks.
motivated you are motivated to stay then.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, so in that respect, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more like school, but outside of the home.
Max, my initial plan for the discussion today was to go into the glass rose topic, but
Yeah.
we enjoy talking to each other. I
Totally.
realized that more and more, and I would kindly ask you if we could do that in another one,
Sure, we can
the
talk about
discussion about
glass.
glass.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
I had so much enjoy talking to you, Paul. It's a real I thought the other day we talked. It's like doing this. there's some things that become clear to me in our, that are kind of that I always kind of knew, but when you say them out loud to, I mean, obviously now we're not complete strangers anymore, but we kind of it to explain yourself, you kind of find your positions and your and it clarifies a lot of things. It's so to me it's actually really it's very I very much enjoy that about it. Why do I feel the way I feel? Like it becomes clear to me. It's if you string a whole sentence together and say it out loud.
Yeah, like you said, you think about things, but you don't say them out loud. I have to say, Max, I met, like you said, we are not strangers anymore, and this makes me happy. But I met so many people doing this in the last year. I've passed now 1 year since I started this small project of mine, and I have to say I enjoy every step of the way. I enjoy every discussion. That's why I do this. I do this based on the guest availability, because I really have to say I learned so much, first of all, from every of the people that I talked to, and I've met amazing people. That one of my previous guests said that this is a free therapy session that I get
Yeah,
with you.
exactly. 100%.
Because I get to speak out the things that I thought about, that I thought for myself, and this I get that here I get to speak them out.
100% true.
um, your trip towards Glassrose, Max, started with wine, and maybe just to tease a bit the next episode. I want to ask you. You said a few times the story about your going towards sobriety in the Instagram reels. I've seen it a few times, but I have to ask you one question that is somehow proceeding that. I never had the feeling that you are um, um, a professional drinker. Let me put it this way. To try to put it politically correct, I didn't get the I didn't get the feeling that you are a professional drinker.
Yeah.
Um, and you said you were doing the January with no alcohol.
Mm.
And what was the trigger for this? Was that an yearly event? Was something that you were constantly always doing?
I have to say, when you live on a vineyard, when you are around wine people a lot, when you make wine, you do drink a lot of wine. And I have to say, I do enjoy. Everybody brings you something. Try this, and you're like, we just grew this, and then so, and I also do enjoy cocktails, and so it becomes kind of a habit. And I never felt like I never felt sick, like I mean some people get really
Mm-hmm.
sick from drinking alcohol, t but I felt it's kind of like, obviously I mean we wouldn't have this if I would have in my previous life I wouldn't be able to have such a nice conversation at 9 o'clock at night. I'd be probably tired, because I drank already all day long, and I drank a cocktail at 5, and then for dinner and a couple of glasses of wine. So, but okay, so there's this habit, and I thought, you know what? Why not? Everybody's doing this dry January thing. Let's see what does that feel like? Is that a problem for me? I don't know, or not, or so 3 years ago I did that, and it was kind of strange the first week because you define yourself almost like, okay, oh, today be opening a Pinot, and then this it's
The red one goes so good with this food. The
exact
white one,
it's identity, and
exactly.
that felt strange, but then I felt great. I felt so, and I'm also, I do a lot of physical things. I write, and I'm like, then in addition to that, that year we were doing the music project, and I needed to work at night, and then suddenly it was February, March, April, and I didn't drink, and I'm like, oh, this feels so good. Uh, and but then you get into social situations, and I tried to drink. I'm literally said, you know what? I'm not a sober person like that. I don't, but I really did not like it anymore. I didn't like how I felt. I just did not make me feel good, and then I just stopped completely. And that is what, in the end, led to Glassrose, because what I really missed more than the feeling of alcohol is to have a drink of something where I have something on the nose and something develops on my palate and something in the finish. And it's like, how can I have that's such a great experience drinking something beautiful. So can we come up with something that has that, where I feel the same way I feel when I drink a good wine without the effect of alcohol, And I mean, it's also the thing is. Then I saw an interview with John Mayer, of all people, great guitar player, great singer, who got sober, and he said, "You know what? I had this moment where I had to decide, do I want to be 100% of what I can be right now? I want to go on tour and I want this and I want to, or do I want to be 70 and play for 30% I'm playing and partying? And I decided I wanted to be 100% of what all the things I want to do. And to me, it made a lot of sense. And I'm not judging anybody who makes a different decision, who says, I want to party for 50% of the time. But for me, at that stage in my life, I felt like, you know what, whatever I still have left, I want to be completely conscious and be uh, very present. And the interesting thing is, it has really changed how my memory works, not drinking. I mean, number one, I have a lot of recollections that I completely forgot about, and for some people that might be beneficial to forget, and that's why people also drink. But I also feel like learning new music, learning new things, learning so much easier when you don't have like a brain fog.
A constant one. The reason why I'm asking you, Max, is that I have someone I have somehow made the same experience, and I'm more or less sober since more than a year now. And for me, it started in the January of 24, just because I realized that it doesn't bring me any benefit, or maybe the benefit are not matching this the second day,
Right.
or I don't know how to put it in a good way. I wasn't a professional drinker as well,
Yeah.
to keep it political correct, um, but I have the feeling that I am judged by the social by the in the social events.
Mhm.
I have the feeling that people are looking with, what's wrong with you?
Yes.
Do you have that feeling? Do you get
Yeah.
that?
I mean, I don't go to a lot of social events at this point. I do, but I'm live on this farm, and but yes, I find it stronger in Europe than it is in when we visit Europe. I find it people ask you, you're either pregnant or are
Or
you
sick?
an alcoholic? That that does, so it's like, what's wrong with you? And I find in America, especially on the coasts, if you live in New York or in California, the pressure to drink is not that strong anymore. I feel there's a lot of people who, even here in wine country, I can a handful of winemakers I know here in this valley don't drink. They don't drink. So, it's and I'm not judging anybody who drinks. It's everything is a personal choice. I'm in, and I most of my life I drank, and I was very proud that I'm not a drunk. I was very proud that I could go to in any situation and drink also a lot and behave myself really well and be. I was never a slob, and you raced like that. You said, and I just did not want to do this anymore. I there was just the upside was so great, and what it gave me was so little that I said, what, it's a no brainer. It's like, yeah, feels great.
Um,
And
uh,
that's at the at
I
the inception. That's at the inception of Glass Rose, where Sarah and I are having. Yeah, I cooked something amazing. We're sitting on our patio and said, and now we're drinking mineral water. What could we do? And then we start, using all kinds of syrups and fruit and stuff like that. And it was too sweet. And so what can we do that is dry and it feels like a so and that's where we started experimenting with elderflowers and yuzu and all kinds of different things.
but this story in the next episode.
Exactly. Yes.
Max, thank you so much again for your time. It was a pleasure. I have to say, my day starts much better after this topic.
Oh, fantastic. I will go peaceful to bed. Thanks for tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you as
Great
well, and
conversation.
looking forward for the next one,
Yeah,
Max. See
likewise.
you in the next one. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye. Cheers.